I remember it being very, very cold this time.
Oh, yes. It was November 1994.
Carol asked for an Indian summer, so we've got it. That's what I told her. She got her wish.
Tell her
double.
thank you.
Well, can you use that term?
No.
Yeah.
Is it cold? We had.
Oh, okay. I get so confused now. When you get sick, can't sick.
I'm a little nervous saying it, but that's what other would call it. Ready? All right, I'd like to call this meeting to order. Please rise for the pledge of allegiance and the moment of silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. So the first thing would be roll call.
Commissioner Ansorgi,
Here.
Commissioner Rushton,
Present.
Chairman Bonick,
Present.
Commissioner Wessel,
Here.
Commissioner Sudis here, Commissioner Rettenbach,
Here.
Commissioner Lautner. Present.
Thank you. So then that brings us to public comment. If there's any public comment, please call in at 231-256-8109, 231-256-8109. Or, yes, you go ahead, come on up if you want to talk. We'll wait while we're waiting for a phone call.
Good morning. I'm John Popa from Bingham Township, and congratulations to all you incumbents that won re-election. Deb? I think you have some very good candidates this time around. I handed out some information and some questions that you might consider. I think it's very important that the person is available and not just come to our meetings twice a month. That's a real big consideration. Availability, they should attend road association seminars that we have. There's 83 counties, and we're constantly have subjects that's got to come up, and you need to go to those meetings. Available to meet and talk with community reps. That's more than just coming to these meetings twice a month. You have to be available to meet with the staff all the time. You got to be available to be contacted by a computer. There's stuff that daily comes out. We do so much stuff by computers now. We approve our budget and payroll by them. There's daily information. There's postings. A lot of it comes from this government center. There's notices, weekly legislative updates. And you have to be available by your phone and email. You go in a phone book and look at some officials here, and they don't even have a phone number. You don't know how to get a hold of them. So it's very frustrating with the community. So you have to make that available. And again, I handed out some questions that you may want to consider asking.
Thank you. Any other public comment? Seeing none, then we'll move on to our agenda, and it'll be the purpose of this meeting. So our first candidate then would be Mr. Kiesel.
And what we did last time, if you want to follow the same format, we had the candidates give an opening statement, and then each commissioner had a chance to ask questions. So that's okay with you, Mr. Bonick? I thought that'd be the right format.
Sure. Did you want to do an opening statement first?
Sure.
Okay. We go with.
Deb has her hand.
Okay.
She's trying
Yeah.
to say something.
Yep. Commissioner, question.
Deb, you're
I have a-
muted.
Point of order. I do not believe that the agenda has been approved.
Oh, all right, well, it is a special meeting, so usually we do go by, can't change the agenda. So it would be, usually it's just accepted as presented, but we can, if you want to, yes, we have a motion, please, Commissioner Ansorgi.
I would move to approve the agenda as presented.
All right.
Second.
All those in favor, please raise your hand. All those opposed, the same sign. Motion passes 7-0. Thank you for that. Sorry,
That's okay.
Mr. Kiesel.
I'm Jim Kiesel. I'm from Leland Township. As most of you know, I do work for the county in another capacity already. And I think that experience that I bring is probably different than a lot of candidates. Mine is more local knowledge based. I've been with the county for 22 years. 15 of those were on midnights. So, I mean, I not only know these roads by name, whether it be the 911 name or the old county road number name, I know them by bumps. I grew up in and around and knowing the road commission. My dad retired there after 38 years. And they built Bugай Road when they built Herman Road. I rode in equipment with him. And so I know how it works. I'm also, and have been, my whole 22 years here at the Sheriff's Office, a accident reconstructionist. When there's issues with accidents or fatals, which I've been a part of well over 100 in this county. Parts of that can be road related, like the shoulder edge that's more than a half an inch lower than the pavement. I've been in contact with the road commission and deal with those issues also. Same with MDOT for those same types of issues. I believe my experience is unique. I'm not an engineer. I do have a college degree in management and organizational development. I've been part of contract negotiations. I deal with people. I am in the supervision world every day. So I think what I bring to the table is unique and specially suited for this position.
So then we would start with any questioning, and maybe we could just go right down, Commissioner Ansari, did you want to start?
Well, I just had a question. In our packet, we had road commissioner candidate questions.
Yeah.
Were they provided to the candidates?
No.
No, they were not?
No, they were not.
Okay.
Well, and last time when we did it, like each person just took like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, the questions. And we just, each one had those if they wanted, or if they wanted to ask something different. So, and that's the order that we sort of gave everybody. So everybody got a chance to ask a question if they wanted to, or they could just pass. So I don't know if someone, I guess I would, I could start out with number 1 and then someone could go on from there. All right. So, I guess the first question, and I think you've almost really completed it already. It says describe your background and experience that would be relevant and useful to the position of the County Road Commission.
Well, once again, I would lean. I've been a supervisor. I was a sergeant for about 13 years. I've been a lieutenant for the last 5 years. I've been in supervision a long time. Like I said, I have dealt with union negotiations. I assist, although minimally, with the budget. I assist in fleet maintenance. Like I said, my accident reconstruction experience ties directly to the road commission, liability, things of that nature. To refer back to the public comment, even in my current job now, I'm available 24/7, 365, and it's not uncommon for my phone to ring, 10 times in a day, whether it be the weekends or 3 in the morning. If I don't answer, I usually get back to somebody within a couple of minutes as soon as I realize I missed their call. So once again, I think my skills are well suited for this type of position.
I can go next. Yes, thank you for being here this morning, Jim.
Thank you.
I think, as Will said, you've already answered a couple of these things. So I guess I will start out with, in reading your cover letters, I think that it was a very interesting perspective I hadn't thought about is the amount of miles you've put on our roads. So you really do know our roads very well. So I thought that was a very interesting thing. I like that you're also very active in the community. I think that means a lot. So we have a question here that talks about what do you think the relationship between the road commission and the county board of commissioners should be? And if you want to change that up a little bit, if you want to just remark on how it is and how we could improve it, or if you think it should be any different than it is.
I think for the most part it works well. Obviously the boards are separate. I know the County Board of Commissioners has some what I guess you could say oversight over the road commissioners. I mean, everyone is an elected official, but like today, when there's a vacancy in this board, you know, it is filled by all of you. I think the way it's worked in the past has been good. I mean, I think the road commission does an excellent job. I think that's shown by the millage that's been approved over and over again for several decades now. So I don't think there are a lot of problems or conflicts between the board of commissioners and the road commission board. Things have run smooth, albeit this year for lots of different reasons besides the issues they had. Just the world in general has made a lot of things change. But I don't think you would change that relationship that much at all.
Yep, thank you.
Thank you for being here.
No problem.
Well, I'm going to deviate from the questions on the list, and I want to talk about availability. One of the questions on Mr. Pope's list was flexibility and availability for special meetings and emergencies. I want you to talk about your flexibility relative to the road commission responsibility as you perform your supervisory responsibilities in the sheriff's office.
I think I am available, and I would be available. I mean, I sit here now on my own time. Primarily, I do work, you know, Monday through Friday, 8 to 4 in my primary job. But a lot of those responsibilities I can and do complete at other hours of the day or times of the week. Like I said, I'm available by phone 24/7, 365 to all of my guys now, and they exercise that right probably more than I think they should, but nonetheless, I'm still available, whether it be by email, phone call, text, whatever. And I think almost every one of them would say, if I don't answer the phone, I'm usually back to them within very short order. I don't see that as an issue. Now, I know there's meetings and there are other things that happen during the day in times when it would be a per se conflict with my normal job, but I think there is enough flexibility there, and I'm well versed in my current job that I can make arrangements to accommodate the needs of both places.
Thank you.
Morning, Jim.
Morning.
I'm gonna pick on my favorite topic, the money. Tell me what you know about the McNick Act and the Public Act 51 and how you would prioritize funding for road projects.
Well, first of all, I'll come right out and say I'm not well versed in that public act. Just as I'm sure most people aren't well versed in a lot of specifics of the job when they first take it. That doesn't mean I can't figure it out. But as far as road funding, we're in a unique place in Leelanau. I mean, money, although we have to watch it, we have to be conservative with it, but it's never an issue. Our roads are in relatively good shape. The road commission has done an excellent job. And there are places that need priority. There are things that need to be fixed. And I think you look at those on a case-by-case basis and you determine the priorities of the public, the traveling public, the public that lives here. I mean, obviously we are inundated with visitors and our population triples in the summer months. We all know this. So the priorities of the people who are here year-round, in my opinion, are just as important, if not more important, than the people who are only here for 4, 5, 6 months out of the year, as well as the millions of visitors that we see. So I think looking at projects on an individual basis, working in cooperation with MDOT and the local townships on what they believe their needs are how I would look at those issues.
Thank you.
Good morning, Jim.
Good morning.
Appreciate your having here. I thought it was interesting and also very unique that you pointed out your knowledge of roads more than even the bumps, and I'm sure you do, which is an important aspect of what I think a commissioner should have to have. You are engaged in something that civil engineers often do, and that is accident reconstruction. And I was just wondering what type of parameters or from what perspective were you called on to provide information from an accident reconstruction standpoint?
The first thing that As an accident reconstructionist, we look at, I mean, you look at the vehicles, you look at the damage, you look at the environment, you look at the roadway itself. Like I said, the shoulder edge, by law, I believe from the pavement to the gravel is not supposed to be more than a half an inch. Clear vision areas, line of sight, whether that be trees, mailboxes, that kind of thing. Then you get into time distance and what people can perceive and react. The average person, they're going down the road and a deer jumps out. It takes them a second and a half to not only recognize that, but to react and get their foot on the brake and then have the car actually stop. Well, if you're traveling at 55 miles an hour, that's the length of a football field before the brakes are even going on. So if there's mailboxes or trees or snowbanks that are in the way, those are all issues that can play into accidents and issues that may relate back to the road commission. I can remember a serious accident probably 10, 12 years ago on M22 south of Fort Road where the road edge actually played an issue. It was snowy and it was adverse weather conditions, and the shoulder was well below the half-inch parameters, and the vehicle had actually dropped off the roadway. And when they tried to get back on the roadway, that's when they lost control, was our best determination. Shortly after that crash, and it may have been longer than 10 or 12 years ago, is when they paved all the shoulders on M22. It wasn't that long ago, and some may remember, some may not. They always used to be gravel. We didn't used to have the pass-through lanes to it, most of the intersections where people make a left-hand turn and you can go right. Technically, before those were paved, you're not supposed to leave the paved or well-traveled portion of the roadway to pass on the right. Now those opportunities are available in a lot more locations that they weren't. And a lot of the changes that come to roadways, whether it be roundabouts or things of that nature, are directly correlated back to accident data and where accidents occur and why they occur.
Mr. James, if I may, excellent answer. Did you get into dynamic parameters such as resistance, skid mark, the distance traveled within?
That
any of those?
all plays in accident investigation.
Yes, it does.
I mean, I correlate speed and flip vaults, all of that stuff. Drag factor on roadways, yes, drag factor is a standard thing that we will take on every accident that's serious in nature.
Thanks.
Commissioner Redenbach.
Yes, thank you. You spoke a little bit about your feelings that the townships should work with the road commission as far as their needs are concerned. And I'm assuming that you would extend that to the villages and so on. What role do you see the public playing in your job as a road commissioner?
Well, obviously, this specific position that I'm going for is appointed, but the road commission in general are voted on and chosen by the people. So the people are their ultimate response. The people play an important part. Townships in the county have the fiscal responsibility to make sure these roads are maintained, but it's the public who is the traveling public. They're the ones that use it on a regular basis. If it's not safe and up to certain standards for them, then everybody in this room, we're all going to have issues. And those issues can lead to more accidents, whether they be serious injuries or fatals. And if you have to take the public's interest and the public's comments in mind when you make decisions, whether it be road projects, snow plowing, tree trimming, everything. Their concerns are just as important as anybody who sits on the board or anybody who works within the road commission.
Well, I imagine that in the course of the day that the road commission receives a lot of phone calls about fallen trees, about roads that maybe have washed away if they're dirt roads or if they need snow plowing or whatever. And what do you feel that the response of the road commission should be at that point?
I think much like my current job, if calls come in and there are calls or needs for service, whether it be trees or water in the roadway, I think the road commission should be responsive to those complaints or questions or concerns and find ways to have availability to at least address those concerns as quick as possible, if not that day in question.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Rush.
Welcome, Jim. I think you bring a unique perspective to this conversation today. And one of the conversations that has been floating around is whether the board should elect or appoint road commissioners. And I'm just wondering where you fall in on that view. Do you think that road commissioners should continue to be elected, or do you feel that the board would be better served if the candidates were appointed?
Well, given the current situation I'm in, obviously that we're in, I would say with this appointment process, obviously we are here due to an individual who was elected by the people, but wasn't necessarily the right person for the job. I feel the people should have their say in who represents them on whatever board they may be seeking office for. I do see both sides of the coin, and I believe the county board does have its position at this current point. And when openings do come up like this one did, the county board has its obligation to fill that spot. However, I do think an elected road commission board, they are separate entities. They have separate budgets. They have separate issues that they need to deal with. Therefore, I believe elected members of the road commission by the people is the best way to go.
Thank you. One other question I will be posing to you and the other candidates is, have you attended any of the road commission meetings in the last year?
I have watched approximately 2 or 3 via the live stream. I was present and saw actually the one that caused why I sit in this seat today.
Okay. What would be your number one priority if you were to be appointed to this position?
I think the biggest problem that the road commission faces now is staffing. I know in speaking to my dad and listening to him and a couple other gentlemen that he's still friends with that are retirees there, they don't know anybody at the road commission anymore. Like I said, my father retired there after 38 years. Now the road commission is constantly hiring seasonal employees at a reduced rate for no benefits. Guys who come in and work a couple months of the year. They don't have an understanding of the county, the roads, how things work. And I think it's getting a staff in there that is competent, not that we do not have that now, but guys who want to work for the road commission, want to work for the county, and want to give back to the county through that division and organization. So staffing would be my number one priority.
Thank you.
So I guess, is there any other things that anyone had thought of specifically, or is, Commissioner Wessel?
I had one other question. The current road commissioners have different views on how to handle complaints from residents. Well, some of the commissioners, at least one of the commissioners, believes that all calls should go into the district office. And it would be improper to have citizens contact road commissioners. Other road commissioners have a different view on that. What would be your view and your role as a road commissioner if there's a citizen complaint about service? How would you handle that?
If a citizen were to call me as a road commissioner and have a complaint of some nature, I would absolutely take it and find out what that was, and I would refer it on to the manager, and I would absolutely look into it. In a lot of ways, I don't see it any different than my current day job. When a citizen calls and has a problem of some kind, for that citizen, it's the most important time in their life ever. If it wasn't, they wouldn't call. So if it's important enough for them to call, it's important enough for me to address it. As far as sending complaints to the district office, now if it's a state road, maybe. because ultimately it is the state's responsibility. Most of that work is contracted back to the road commission. But if a citizen takes the time to call, then we should take the time to address it. That's why we're there.
Thank you.
Commissioner Rushman.
As of right now, part of the road commission responsibility is the dam authority and public works. And I don't think anybody has raised any questions in regards to that. There has been some discussion about separating out those activities from the road commission. And I would like you to weigh in on that. Do you think that the dam authority and the public works of that agency should be a separate agency, or should it remain under the road commission?
I know more about the dam authority than I do the public works board. And I can say unless they are directly related to the almost 600 miles of roads that are in this county, I think they should be separate. I think the road commission has enough responsibility dealing with the roads and the climate and the issues at hand without having to deal with the dam authority, whether it be the Leelanau Dam or what have you, and just concentrate on the roads and the motoring public.
Thank you.
So I mean, do you realize you would be on the dam authority and the public works if you were appointed?
Yes, I do realize that. I'm just not as familiar with the public works.
Okay.
I mean, technically, right now, I'm like the third emergency contact for the dam. Should there be a failure behind Jerry Coleman and Steve Christensen, then they call me. So I've been in the dam. Jerry's taking me down there for a tour. I know how that Leelanau Dam works pretty well. I'm just more versed in the dam than I am the public works board.
I mean, so it will involve more time than
Absolutely.
most people realize.
Absolutely.
Okay. Very good question. Anyone else? Well, did you have any last statement or anything?
Just thank you for your time. I appreciate it. I realize it's an appointment, and I can pretty clearly state to the board, at least at this point, things change. This appointment would be the appointment. I really don't plan on running for road commissioner beyond the 2 years. When that special election comes, it'll be time for someone else. I mean, but I see this appointment as a calling. I think I'm uniquely qualified for it. Now, whether or not I don't plan on being necessarily long-term at this point is adversarial to my appointment, I understand that. But I can say that right now, I'm just looking to fulfill this appointment and not go beyond the 2-year term.
Thank you. Thank you very much. We appreciate that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good day.
You too.
Thank you so much.
Okay, we just have a couple of minutes and then we have to. Mr. Zeitz would be here. I don't see him here at this time.
He's out in the hallway. He's out in the hallway.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, those are just approximate timelines, so it's not part of the agenda, so you can start at any time.
Okay.
So I give
So,
Mr.
yeah,
Zeitz-
you got it all ready? Let's go. Deb, we're going to bring Mr. Mike Zeitz in right away.
She dropped off. Did we lose Deb Rushton?
No, she just turned the video off.
Okay.
I didn't think everybody wanted to watch me drink coffee.
We do.
Jealous.
Mr. Bonnick,
Mr. Zeitz.
Good morning.
Mrs. Lautner,
Good morning.
Wessels, answer I don't know, Debbie I've talked to.
So, we'd just like you, if you want to start out with a statement. You can take the mask off to speak if you want. You don't have
Okay,
to.
I'd appreciate that.
Thank you. Just state your name and where you're from, and then.
Well, I'd like to fill in a little history on me first.
That'd be wonderful. But
I was born here in the county, Centerville Township. I've lived here all my life except for the 4 years that I served in the service. I had numerous different jobs around the territory. I did work 6.5 years full-time for the county, and I've been, well, it's 12 years of plowing snow after I retired in different jobs. I hope that I'm taken into consideration for this. I hope I can answer the questions that you asked me to the best of my ability. I know that most of you know me through the years. I think Mr. Wessel taught my son. So shoot ahead and I'll see what I can do.
Well, the first question here is that, I mean, you've already described your background, so, I mean, I guess I'm going to start out with what we ended with, Mr. Kiesel, is that, do you realize the appointment to the road commission actually does include the dam authority and the public works?
Yes, it does. I know that. I'm familiar with it.
Okay.
And I'm going to go a little bit farther ahead. When I saw the way things were going in meetings and the confusion that was being caused, I quit going to the meetings because I did not understand why he had that attitude. So let's leave it at that.
Okay. So I mean, you know it involves more time than just the road commission.
I do know that. I've talked to different commissioners. I've made some of the meetings when I could. This summer it hasn't been that way because I've worked part-time for different people. And they'd never fall in right.
Commissioner Long.
Thank you for being here this morning, Mike. I know you've run for the position in the past, so I really appreciate your interest in serving on the road commission. If you were to be appointed to the road commission, what would be your #1 priority for the road commission?
My #1 priority for the road commission is to make sure and feel that I do it right, that the taxpayers' money and the policies put forward match, and try to do the best job to my ability for that position.
Thanks for being here. And it's Veterans Day week, so thank you for your service.
Thank you for recognizing this.
As a road commissioner, there are different philosophies about how you handle citizen complaints or concerns, or local government complaints and concerns. What is your role as a road commissioner relative to the complaint process? And if somebody calls you, how do you proceed?
I would proceed, first of all, by accepting their phone call, realizing what they want done, and it would be referred, first of all, to the superintendent over there. He's the one that sets the policy for taking care of these things. If it's from potholes to cutting trees or whatever.
So you would bridge you would be a bridge to the manager. You wouldn't try
Yes.
to do the manager's job,
But
but you would make sure that the person complaining got in touch with the manager.
But if they continued to complain with me, I would bring it up in front of the board to find out why it wasn't answered at the superintendent's level.
I have a follow-up question. I have attended several road commission meetings, and scheduling of special meetings or conferences has been an issue with the availability of some road commissioners very limited, or working full-time, or a preference for doing such and such. Are you available? I think the chairman asked you a little bit about this, but are you real flexible in your schedule? You're on this, you say you plow roads, No,
Not if I get into the commissioners, I will not be allowed to run the equipment.
Okay.
Yes, I am available for just about any meeting going unless it would conflict with a doctor's appointment that was made 3-4 months ahead of time or something like that.
Thank you.
Commissioner Ransom.
I'm gonna focus on the money. If you would, tell me what you know about the McNick Act, Public Act 51, and what your priorities are as far as, what you know, as far as spending the money on project.
I'm not quite sure of the Public Act because I have not kept up on that end of it. But if it's set aside for certain aspects of the work, it should stick pretty much to that. If for some reason they got an over an abundance, let's say, it could be spent in places where it's really needed. On roads, potholes, tree cutting. In driving around the county, I see a lot of trees on the edge of the road that have been down. That's something they're gonna have to contend with, because every year they die and the wind takes them down. I know that in the wintertime, when I was working full-time, I did run a tree cutting crew. And every chance we got, we were out there trying to find and take out the ones that, I call him the road boss, who's Dave, told us where to go. I tried to do my best and get the most done out of it.
Commissioner Sullivan.
Yes. Thank you for coming, Mike. And
You're very welcome.
you're right, we did have a chance to chat a bit when I was working with the citizen group on changes to driveway permits, so good to see you. My question is, since you've seen a lot of issues come before the road commission from townships and different entities, what do you see as the relationship between the board of commissioners and townships in terms of who should pay for what, how responsive, assistance, this kind of thing?
In my opinion, I think that over the years, the superintendent, Johnson, and I can't remember the guy's name before that, have done a job of making a good job of making all the meetings and listening to the things and trying to spend the money of the townships responsibly. In my opinion, way back when I was farming and selling milk, our road was all gravel. My sister served on the township board there and finally got it asphalted. Well, I think in that amount of time, from the time I quit milking cows in '92 till now, it's only been resurfaced once, and then it was upgraded here this last summer, which made a wonderful difference for us. And I feel that it's up to the superintendent to convey to the board what needs to be done and what the engineer calls for at that point, I guess.
Commissioner Rush. You're muted.
I love working with these computers. Hi, Mike. Thank you for your
Hello.
service, and
Thank
glad
you.
to see you here today. One of my questions for you is, there's been some conversation about road commissioners, whether they should be appointed or elected. And I'm wondering what your opinion is on that.
The commissioners of the county have each got a different district. This is the way I said it, and this is the way I look at it. I do not see why, when the major part of the population is on the east side of the county, look where your road commissioners are now. Bingham and right down the line to Northport. A guy in the center of the county like me, maybe I wasn't that well known, had very little chance to get in, but I lost it by 141 points or votes. I feel, and I don't think it would take that much, that they should, if you're going to have 5 of them, why can't you draw 5 districts and have them individually so the people of that area has got a chance to put somebody in that they want? That's my opinion.
One of my other questions is, how many meetings have you attended in the last year for the road commission?
I think it was 3 or 4 after Mr. Eckerly got in, and I did not like the way things were going. Rather than try to be contentious in a meeting, I bowed out and just kind of listened for things.
Is this position, if elected, something that you're looking at beyond this 2-year appointment? Are you, would you consider running again for that seat?
Is it a 2-year appointment to finish out his term? Or is it a 4-year?
I'm not sure on that. I thought it was 2
I
years.
can clarify that. The appointment is for 2 years, then the seat will be open for the remainder of the term.
Okay, yes, I would be interested in running again.
And I think you talked about your number 1 priority. What do you know about the dam authority and the public works, and how does that fit into a road commission position?
From the way I understand it from people I have talked to, the dam authority and the other public works goes with it. You have to be available to make the meetings. You have to be able to see what's going on and accept it and study it out before I would make a decision on it.
Do you know what your responsibilities under those different boards would be?
Not to the full degree yet, but you've got to look out for the taxpayers and you've got to look out to what's got to be done.
Thank you. I appreciate your answers.
Commissioner Redenbach.
So, Mike, if you were appointed today as the new road commissioner to fill this, what would be your priority and what would you bring to the board right off the bat?
Oh boy. I would sit and listen first, and then I would make sure that I had advanced knowledge of the things that are coming up to the board so I could at least study them a while before to have some kind of an idea of what's going on. And in that respect, I should be able to make a decent and right judgment.
What do you see as the most important function of the road commission?
The safety of the drivers and people on the roads. I've been in a lot of situations and I've heard of a lot of complaints, and some days you just can't keep up. But I tried.
Thank you. We appreciate that. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Any other? Yes.
Rushton's got her
Oh,
hand.
I'm sorry, Commissioner Rushton.
Yes, Mike, there was some conversation about staffing levels. The current staffing levels, it appears as though they have been seasonal part-time workers as opposed to long-term, full-time. Would you make a change to that current procedure, or would you continue to use seasonal part-time employees? And which one is more advantageous in your opinion?
In my opinion, the part-time like I did, I would get the call at 4 o'clock in the morning to start at 5. And after I retired, all as I was paid was so much an hour, and I think they kept workman's comp on me, but I'm not sure. But I never knew from day to day when I was going to get the call to come to work, or where I was going to go to work on which route. And myself personally, when I started there, the first time I worked there in the late 60s, we had ample enough employees. But for now, it seems like they're having problems getting people at first and then keeping people. And if part-time is what it's got to be to make things safe, that's the way it should be. The first years after I retired, I did work 3 days a week for a while until they figured, well, it wasn't good enough, so they just put me on part-time all the way through. So.
Thank you.
Commissioner Answer.
I lost my train of thought. Concentrating on what he was saying, I lost my train of thought, sorry.
Okay. Well, I just wondered about computers. Computers are going to be part of the whole thing. You know, and how, you have good internet and things at you know, where you're.
There is not a good internet available at the house. No, I am not up on computers. I did start to learn it at the county the last time I was part-time there. I think it was a year ago last summer, or a year ago this summer. And I did get started into how to make my time out on the computer. And to get everything right. Dave worked with me, Linda worked with me a little bit. I got by. I started to learn it. In January was the end of my driving because I got an infection in my foot. I ended up 5 days in the hospital and never got back on my feet after the 1st of May.
And so, were there anything else or anyone? Have in mind? Go, if you
Well,
would.
can I make one more attention? The minutes or the procedures for the meeting come out usually the Thursday or Friday before, or the Monday before. I would be willing to get over and get a copy of that so I knew what was going on with no problem. All they'd have to do is let me know when it's ready.
And they could mail them out as well.
Pardon me?
They could mail them out as well, too.
This is true, if the mail would get to me in time. No offense there.
Commissioner Rettenbach, did you have your hand up?
I just had a comment, you know, I live down in the Glen Arbor Township, and since my 30-some years in the county, I've lived in Empire Township and Glen Arbor Township. So during the majority of that time, we did have very good representation down here in this part of the county. And I was interested in your comment about the regional aspect of road commissioners and the importance of that. You said you do think it's important.
I do. I think I discussed it with Melinda a little bit. And she said she didn't think at that time it was practical, which I didn't disagree. But if there is a way, I feel that just as yous are elected from different, I think you're my one from Leland and Centerville, if you could figure out something to set up like that, I feel it would be advantageous to all of us.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Okay, Commissioner Muller.
Well, actually, I find that kind of an interesting statement because when the last couple times we appointed, I pushed very hard for a representative from the southwest corner of the county and could not garner enough support off this board to appoint anybody from the southwest corner. But I tried very hard to do that. I thought it was very important.
Well, you're the governing body of the county. If yous decide to do it, I think you can do it.
I can,
Yeah, go ahead.
We researched this last time. By state constitution, we cannot do that. It has to be a countywide election. There are no districts on road commissions.
It's the way the law is set up.
But I tried through the
Yeah.
appointment process. Right.
Any other questions? Do you have any other last statements or anything, Mike?
No, I do not.
All right. Well,
Yeah,
thank you very much.
The only thing I will say, if I'm elected, I'll try to do the best of my ability.
Appreciate
I
that.
have no doubt about that, Mike.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Exactly. Nobody doubts that.
You-
All right.
you
Thank you
all
very
set?
much. Yeah, that's, so then we're through here, and
Okay.
we'll move on to the next candidate.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for coming.
I appreciate it.
So our next candidate is Mr. Barry Alder.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for having me here today. I appreciate that. My name is Barry Adler. I appreciate the opportunity to be given the opportunity to serve on the Road Commission. I suspect that I have a little different skill set than most who have served in this position in the past. And from all of these excellent candidates that you have here before you today. So it's going to be your decision on whether or not my skill set would be useful and helpful to this county. I'm a lawyer. I've been an attorney in the state of Michigan for 40 years. I was born and raised in Michigan. My family's been here for over 100 years. My father was a small businessman. My parents did not go to college. And I grew up in the greater Detroit metropolitan area. You might ask, what am I doing here when probably none of you know me. I haven't lived here that long, although I've been connected here for about 25 to 30 years as a property owner and a visitor, coming up here every summer to enjoy everything that, Leelanau County has to offer, not only to its own residents, but to the millions of people that visit here. One of the things that motivated me, in fact, perhaps the only thing that motivated me initially to get involved here was, what I saw as a very unfortunate tarnishment of the reputation of the good people of Leelanau County. I haven't heard much mention of that today. I've heard a little bit, which is fine. But to me, especially as an attorney, the tolerance and the rule of law to me is very important. Everything that we see going on in this country right now is happening here too. We're not a diverse county by any stretch, but we must project an image of inclusion and tolerance. Our best resource in Leelanau County, besides its people, it's our land and water. Tourism is the economic engine of this county. Anyone who doesn't understand that, I don't think understands this county. We depend on it to survive. The money that tourism brings into this county helps build our roads, maintain our roads, and pay everyone's salary that works for the county. I've done a lot of studying about the roads. I can't say I have any firsthand knowledge of how the work gets done. That's not something that I can bring to the table here. But I do know that the roads in and out of our county have served over 50 million visitors to the Leelanau, Sleeping Bear National Lakeshore since 1986. Last year alone, 2019, before this unfortunate pandemic occurred, we welcomed 1,570,000 visitors here. And I know that people that come here want to feel that they're welcome and that it's an area that people cherish not only for its land and water, but for its people. So, I can go on and talk because that's what lawyers do, but I'm going to let you just know a little bit more about me, and then I'll be happy to answer your questions. I've been an attorney for 4 years. People who know me and the reference letters that you have in front of you from public officials know me to be hardworking and trustworthy, honest, have integrity. I don't think you get very far in the legal profession if you don't possess all these qualities. I've run a successful small business for 35 of those 40 years. I've served on an executive board of Michigan's largest member attorney association, 1,500 members for over 10 years. I work with a diverse group of people in my job as an attorney. That includes governmental officials, insurance companies, employers, and their lawyers. Being a trial lawyer, I work with experts in many fields, and I rely on them continuously to develop my own expertise in learning about a problem. I think a road commissioner has to be an effective voice for the community. After listening to the community and after doing your due diligence, we can't simply be, a mouthpiece for those who are loudest, and we can't be a mouthpiece for those who, have an agenda. But we have to apply facts and experience to getting the job done, no matter what governmental position it may be. We have to ask good questions. And I think most importantly, we have to demand the highest ethical standards from our vendors, people who do business and want to profit off of our roads, and our employees. So with that, I'll be happy to answer any questions that you have.
Yeah, I guess I'd start out with that. I mean, there are other boards you would be on. If you're appointed to this position, you're going to be on the dam authority and the public works. Do you think that those should be part of the road commission?
I have to profess that I don't know enough about it. I'm not too proud to say that I don't, but I would do, whatever the county feels is best. If after looking at the situation that the functions of the two divisions that you speak of don't harmonize with what road commissioners do, then I would be mindful of that and probably recommend that it be separated in some way. I would also be, you don't want to be spread too thin.
Well, and I guess that's what I'm wondering about, because, I mean, if you're still running a business and they have called meetings for the public works or for the dam authority, and I don't even know that they've met this year.
Right.
But if they do, then you've got to have the flexibility, or would you have the flexibility for those kinds of meetings?
Yeah, it's a very good question. So my law practice, since I moved away from the Detroit area almost 3 years ago with my family, has been, don't tell my clients, winding down, okay? And I used to work a lot. I mean, I'm talking 12-hour days, 7 days a week, especially now with the internet and computers and things of that nature. I've been working from my basement since the pandemic. And because I've been winding down my business, I would like to devote and intend to devote more and more time to something like this. I'm trying to fill the gap between my desire to, sort of work all the time and keep out of the wife's way, so to speak, but yet fill my days with things that are important to me and in my community. So I have no problem attending any meeting that's called for. In fact, you're going to ask me about priorities. I would maybe recommend that we have a greater amount of time devoted to meetings. Perhaps And I think one thing that might be good would be for each commission member to have open door policies. For example, certain times of the week, for example, make people be able to come and meet with us. Each commissioner can do that or not do that, but I know I would do that because, after all, we are, in a position where we have to listen to what people need, especially the other leaders in the community. I think that's really important. Each one of these communities in Leelanau Township comes from these areas that are a little different, have different needs, and I don't profess to know what they are. Probably Mr. Janik and yourself know a lot more about that. So I would rely on people like you to tell me, and I like to meet with people. I like to hear their concerns, and I like to propose solutions. That's how I see it.
Yes, thank you for your interest in the road commission appointment.
You're welcome.
I think it's kind of interesting, with your background, I think it could be beneficial to a board, because not everyone has to have or should have the same set of skill sets. So I find that to be an interesting perspective. So I wonder though, because normally a road commission will work with its own attorney. So do you think that there would be, how would you separate yourself from what their attorney recommends or would want to do? Still be able to offer advice, still be able to offer your perspective, but maybe, I'm going to say not interfere, even though that's not the word I'm looking for.
Right, I
How do
understand.
you separate?
Yeah, I think I understand your question. So lawyers, most of us anyway, we understand other lawyers and we understand where they're coming from. And I think, I've dealt with literally thousands of lawyers as a trial lawyer, a very heavy caseload, representing 100 to 200 people every year, individuals, and each one of those opponents having their own lawyer. So I know where lawyers are coming from, and I think being a lawyer and dealing with a lawyer for the board could only help. I really don't see any sort of conflict there or any type of ethical problems. In fact, I might even give you free legal advice once in a while and you know what that is worth. I would relish the opportunity to work with the lawyers in any legal problem that may arise, governmental immunity and keeping those roads safe and things of that nature. So,
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Commissioner West. Whoops, thanks for being here.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you.
They're unhandy.
Thank you. Yeah, they're a pain, I'll tell you that.
Well, you opened up the unfortunate incident at the road commission a few months ago, and I think fellow road commissioners handled it in a responsible manner, but I'd like to ask you, if you were sitting in that meeting when that incident happened, how would you have responded and what follow-up would you have provided?
Boy, I would have been shocked to my socks, I would have instantly denounced him and denounced what happened. I would have made a very strong statement that this is totally unacceptable behavior, that we as a county don't in any way condone anything like that. The county's reaction to it, I think, was slow. Again, I'm not on the commission, and I never was, but I think it was slow, and I think it's still slow. Resolutions are one thing, but action is another. If I was at that meeting, I would have asked them to leave, and I would have adjourned the meeting, actually, so that we could address it. I don't know if anyone thinks there's any irony in the fact that the road that the commission has as its address is Eckerly. And I think You're going to ask me about priorities. It's certainly not a top priority, but I think symbolism is important. And I would consider changing the name of that road. I don't know what his family did in the past to merit having a road named after it, but they've lost the right to have a road named after it, in my opinion, by the actions of this one individual, who I don't know. I don't know. All I know is what I saw and read.
Quick follow-up.
Yeah, definitely.
Tomorrow, this Board of Commissioners is going to discuss our next steps. As a road commissioner, if you were sitting on the Leelanau County Road Commission, what would the next steps be relative to the issue of diversity and race and racism? And
I would hold a public meeting, and I would invite members of the community who have a special skill set to address matters of race. These would be typically community leaders of different races and backgrounds. I watched with interest not too long ago the meeting that was held by Zoom with representative of the African American community and the Hispanic community and Indian community, which we know that it was good. I thought that was very good. But perhaps when so this pandemic goes away, if it goes away, we can consider all meeting in a public forum rather than Zoom, and have some people address these systemic problems that is so, to me, so irreflective of what Leelanau County, is about. Leelanau, the words Leelanau means the light of life, and there's no delight in life if we tolerate that type of conduct. So I would talk about it. I think talking about it in a public way is very important, and we can see where everybody stands.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. I'm going to focus on the money.
Of course. Of course.
Would you tell me what you know about the McNitt Act, Public Act 51, and then what your priorities are as far as spending the limited resources we have?
Okay, so just from a more global perspective, so to speak, Michigan, we elected a governor and the idea that she was going to fix the roads. I'll leave out the expletive for now. I don't want to steal her lines, but Michigan lags its neighboring states. I'm sure you're aware of this, significantly on its investment on state-owned roads. Other Great Lakes states, everyone in the Great Lakes invests more in their roads than Michigan does. Anywhere from $100 to $482, according to statistics I read from MDOT, per person in state roads than Leelanau, than Michigan, I should say. How Leelanau County ranks and so forth, I don't know. But, we need to look at new ways of funding, expand the ones that we have. Right now it's, to my understanding, it's split between, federal and state user fees, gas taxes, and vehicle registration fees. I would like to see again, I haven't studied it, so I apologize, but just to me, it would make sense to look at those who use the roads the most and do the most destruction to the roads, to perhaps up their I don't want to say fees, but certainly their contribution to the tax rolls that fund the roads. Big trucks and people that even build our roads do a tremendous amount of damage to our roads. But yet, to my understanding, they're not really taxed, for that reason. But I think we need to look at it. And certainly, we don't want to interfere with the transportation function of our government in any way. We don't want to discourage people from using the roads or coming up here or anywhere else to enjoy what we have here. But the transportation system, it provides everybody with the ability to access destinations, move goods and products, services, and information throughout the state. So, we've got to do whatever we can to grab those dollars from the state and the federal government. We need to regularly meet with those folks. We need to open up lines of communication, not necessarily with our handout, but certainly with an understanding that we need, we have the most beautiful area of the state, and we attract more people here than any other area of the state. Our population just skyrockets, in the summertime, and but yet we have, to me, from where I come from, in the Detroit area, it's night and day up here, and that's one of the reasons why we love it here, is because I think we have great roads here. I have a little sports car I like to drive, and nothing is nicer on a Saturday or Sunday to put the top down and zip around the county on some of those back roads through the wineries and around the lakes and take my fishing pole. So, I think it's very important that we kind of keep what we've been doing going as best as we can in what appears to be, an atmosphere of declining revenues. Again, how we do it, I would rely on experts. I'm not going to give you that answer. I don't know. I would rely on, public accountants. I would rely on, the government money people who know. It's not me. I don't know. But I would learn. And I think that's, if you know me, you'll find I'm a quick learner. And I'm not afraid to tackle something that's new.
Thank you. Commissioner Sibley?
Well, welcome, and thank you for coming, Mary.
Thank you.
You do bring a unique set of skills as an attorney, and clearly a lot of them would be very beneficial on the road commission. You know how to work with people, you know how to assess situations and problems. Just now you were talking about the potential of reduced revenues, which is not, which probably is reality. Given that, how would you prioritize the work that would be done at the road commission?
Well, again, I haven't studied it, but I think maintaining the roads and repairing them would be top priority. Expanding roads, new roads, I think would have to be kind of second. But just maintaining and repairing them to the best of our ability. Again, relying on the engineers to tell us, what areas need most attention. Maybe I'm blind, but I don't know. I drive around the county and I just see great roads. And whatever we're doing, I think we just need to continue to do it as best as we can, and not let us become complacent and get frustrated by the lack of money, but to maybe, roll up our sleeves a little more. Yeah. You're welcome.
Commissioner Wren?
Yes, thank you for coming today. If you were to be appointed to the road commission today, would it be it's a 2-year appointment? Would you be planning on running for road commissioner after that time?
If the people would have me, I would be honored.
But it would be your intention to continue then as a candidate and in running a campaign?
Well, let me just say this. If in 2 years I gain the confidence of the public in my ability to do the job, I would certainly want to continue that so I can continue to grow in the position and make myself more valuable to the county. On the other hand, if after 2 years I decide this is, or the public decides that, I'm not the right fit for this type of job, then I wouldn't run. I'm not going to put myself out there If I didn't think I was capable of doing it, I think I am. In fact, I know I am. I'm not interested in any other job right now, and I have no intention of taking on more. I have a pretty full plate now with running a business and taking care of my family. So, but I would be honored to continue to serve. I'm only 29, so I have plenty of life ahead of me.
As far as the relationship with the road commission, between that and the townships, villages, and so on, how do you see that relationship working?
Well, like I just said earlier, I think the road commission and county government in general, has to sort of harmonize the needs of each community. Each community doesn't have the same needs. Each community doesn't have the same resources. Where I come from in Glen Arbor, our taxes are pretty high. Our land values are pretty high. We have great schools. People are drawn there because of that, and as well as, the natural resources that we have, but yet other parts of the county are not as fortunate. So we have to, in terms of the roads, sort of equalize, if we can, the resources that we have according to the needs of each community. Not necessarily according to how much they contribute to the coffers, but their needs. And if a less affluent community has poorer roads, they deserve the same roads as every other community.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Commissioner Rushton.
Can't hear you. Whoop, start all over.
It must be the administrator that keeps muting me. There's been discussion about electing or appointing road commission members. And I'm just wondering what your position is on that. Do you believe that the county board should look into changing how the road commission functions, being allowed to appoint to this position, or should this position remain in the hands of the citizens via elections?
Well, again, I haven't given this a lot of thought. I don't want to sound like a politician when I'm not, but it's something that if the citizens think it's in the best interest of the county that this position be an elected one and that they have that type of voice, I'm for that. If, on the other hand, the majority of the citizens and governmental officials, which I think is important, think otherwise and it should be an appointed position, then I'll look at that. What I would not want to see happen is that this becomes a political plum, so to speak. I'm very
Football.
much, political football. Not football. Football's something you toss back and forth, but a plum being a prize for doing something good for the county or for giving money to a candidate. That I don't think that's good. But I think if there were some type of, if there's going to be a non-elected position, then there has to be some type of separation between how we appoint the people and the government. And it may be, again, I wouldn't want to create another level of bureaucracy, but we'd have to study how best to appoint people, because I think there is some danger in that, because it doesn't always reflect the will of the voters.
A follow-up question is, how many road commission meetings have you attended in the last year? In other words, Yeah, I'm just wondering what your awareness level is on the issues that the road commission faces other than that unfortunate incident that happened a few months ago.
Right. So I would echo what I heard from Mr. Kissel. Hope I got that right. But I have been watching the meetings on Zoom when able. I've been reading minutes, especially more recently since I applied for this. I think I have a pretty good handle on what it does, the commission does, and what the priorities are, or at least should be. I don't think necessarily you have to attend those meetings in person to be aware of that, but it is certainly something that I'm mindful of that I haven't. In this pandemic, certainly makes it more difficult, but I think what's more important is just having an understanding of what we do and an understanding that we have to work closely with the government here, the Board of Commissioners, kind of work in harmony, make sure we're all on this. We're not gonna be on the same page on everything, but we're the keepers of the citizens' money. And I think most importantly, we have to make sure it's spent wisely, and things are done efficiently and fairly.
My last question. What is it that you know about our roads, our dam, and our public works? What do you know about any of that? What do you know about our roads other than we've got great roads?
Well, I wrote something down, so I'm going to have to refer to it if you don't mind.
Not at all.
But yeah. What I know is that, the road commission states as its value, or excuse me, not its value. The road commission states as its goals to, work with the property owners and contractors regarding new, upgraded, or constructed driveways to ensure it meets standards. I know that we have to review the division of private land to determine if, proposed new parcels, for example, will have, adequate site distance for safe entry and exit from public roads. We have to implement seasonal weight restrictions every March. We have to establish a seasonal road system that are closed to public travel. And we have to work with haulers to make sure they're aware of the road commission policies that may affect them. But I think more generally, we're oversight. And we, in an oversight role, have to, first of all, try and select the best people to run the commission. Have the best engineers, the best people working for us. Everything from the guy who, operates the plow to the engineers who design the roads and how to fix them. We approve bids for work. We have to make sure that the contractors are up to speed. We have to make sure that they're using the latest technologies and giving us fair value for our money. I think they have to justify why we give them bids. And it's not just because they've been here a long time. It's not just because, they're the biggest. We have to give the little guys a chance once in a while and not create a monopoly. I think competition is extremely important. I don't see a lot of that here, but on the other hand, maybe we're not doing enough to attract competition. So that's something I would do, because I think with competition comes, better value.
One other point that was brought up by another candidate, he spoke to the issue about historically road commission positions were full-time And he mentioned that there was some issues about attracting full-time employees, and they have moved to more seasonal workers, which temporarily good move, but long-term for the operation of the road commission, it presents problems. How do you weigh in on this particular issue?
Well, I think the people at the top have to be full-time. I mean, there's no doubt. You don't want part-time managers. You don't want part-time superintendents. You don't want, part-time people who are making the most important decisions. That's not to say that they're more important than anyone else, but their job has a greater impact. So at the top, I think it's got to be full-time. And, and then it becomes a question of money. I think to the extent we can encourage and afford people to work full-time, we should, because I think that brings expertise to a job. I think it also breeds what I would call loyalty to the position, and taking pride in it, making people feel that they're wanted, making sure they have a living wage, I think is important, if they don't have another job. So on the other hand, it's a question of money. And I understand that.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Were there any follow-up questions? Seeing none, then we thank you very much.
Okay, I appreciate you letting me come here today. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yep.
Can we just take a 5-minute break? Okay, and then we'll come back for Mr. Fletcher.
Oh, yes, right.
Enough of that.
Productive lot.
Yeah, but it's wonderful because we have a family gathering. We have 29 of us now, all together.
Chairman, are you back on the record?
What's that?
Are you back on the record?
No.
That's what I was just gonna start it back up.
All right,
I'll be quiet.
Are you ready?
yes, I am.
Okay. So I'd like to get this meeting back under order. Please, so we'll start out with, again, we have Mr. Black here. Thank you very much for
Certainly.
coming here this morning. And I'll start out, well, first of all, would you like to make a statement?
Well, maybe one, clarifying an article in the paper. They asked my opinion of a few things and I gave them. One of them was about the chairmanship of the current board. And I talked about Bob Joyce. It didn't get clarified in there why I said what I said. I commented and I said Bob Joyce had no business being chairman of the County Road Commission. My reason is exactly what happened the following month that I said that. I believe it was the following month. When Tom did what he did, Bob refused to control the board meetings. And Tom was allowed to run off at the mouth quite frequently. And Bob should have hammered him down and stopped it. That never should have gotten to the point where it got. So that clarifies that.
And anything else?
No, I'm sure as we go along, I'll have some comments.
Okay. Well, so I mean, you're very aware then that the road commission also involves the dam authority and
Yes.
the public works. So, you know, and you're available for meetings for all of those?
Yes.
Okay, so that, I mean, that just, and so you don't have anything, so do you have any goals or things that you think you wanted to achieve for the road commission?
Well, I won't go into all of them, but I made a list of things that, having served on the Muskegon County Road Commission for, I thought 12 years, it said in the article 10, I'm not going to dispute that, but on the road commission down there, there was a number of things we tried that really weren't that successful, and those that we did try that we found were successful. And there were a number of ideas that, and of course, not saying it worked down there would work up here, but there's a lot of ideas I had listed that I think at least I would like to touch on. I know John sitting behind me is very progressive, and I would be able to approach those ideas to him, and he may shoot them down for various reasons that he would know, but some of them I'm sure have merit, and I would like to be able to bring them forth if I was to be on the road commission. Even if I wasn't, I would like to broach some of them to the current road commission members.
Thank you. Commissioner Lutton.
Yes, thank you, Mel, for being
Yep.
here today, for your interest. And I know you also ran for the position, so I appreciate all the time you put into this. A lot of our questions we could ask, but you've already answered in your extensive resume. Being so many years on the road commission, you're very aware of the workings of the road commission.
Mm-hmm.
So the only thing I wasn't clear on was, did you serve on a Board of Public Works in
No.
Muskegon?
No, I did not,
No.
because they're a totally separate board.
They had separate boards?
Yes.
Okay, and no dam commission either that you served
No,
in?
there's no dam commission there.
All right. So what would you prioritize in Leelanau County? What would be your number one priority if appointed? What would you tackle first?
Well, I like the phaser system. I would like to see us tackle that and get those numbers a little bit better. I did see improvement in the last reporting of going from good to better and so forth. And that would probably be the number one priority, is getting those little better numbers, address some of the worst ones right off the bat. I mean, you got to get, and then look at some of the gravel roads. Maybe there's a possibility of expanding beyond, adding additional gravel roads, or not gravel, but paved roads, and that type of thing.
That's all for now. I may have more questions, but I'll see if they get asked as we go.
Commissioner.
Thanks for being here. I want to push back a
Sure.
little bit on your statement in the paper about the current chair and your statement with us today, because I'm wondering if that's constructive. We can have that kind of a view, but I'm not sure that as a road commissioner, as a county commissioner, our public statements
Yes.
are important. And
Yes.
I'd ask you to talk a little bit about that. And we do not need a road commissioner that's going to go in and fight with other road commissioners or be disrespectful of other road commissioners. So I'd like you to help me feel more comfortable with your statement.
Okay, I appreciate your asking that question, because the man that I've felt that right along that should be the chair is sitting right behind me here. I firmly believe, having spoken with John, talked to him before, that he's the one that should have been chairman. And and I feel that way yet today. I think he would be a phenomenal chairman of the board. He would keep control for number one. Number two, he would look for ways for improvement. I really believe that. I don't know what else you want me to say beyond that. Bob's a wonderful guy. I don't want to downplay him as a person. And I think he probably would be a good road commissioner. I just don't think he should have been chair.
Thank you.
Mr. Hanson.
Welcome.
Hi.
I want to focus on the money.
Okay.
Tell me a little bit about what you know about the McNitt Act, Public Act 51, and what your priorities are on spending the limited money that we have.
Well, of course, the act was written kind of off the seat of the cuff years ago. And when you look at the state of Michigan getting the same amount of money for not nearly the number of miles we've got in county roads, but 39 cents out of every dollar going to the state, 39 to county roads, and we got usually about 4 times as many miles of the county roads to maintain with the same amount of money that it's largely that you see that going down the freeway, and they're replacing perfectly good guardrails, signs that appear to be fine. You think, why in the world are they doing this? Well, they've got the money compared to the county road commission. So the county road commission has to be careful, I think, in their bid processing, being careful that they get the very best possible deal they can on everything they purchase. For one. Number two is life savings of the roads with chip sealing. That gives you usually about 10 more years of life in a road. So it's a wise move to continue chip sealing and even expanding it wherever possible to get the life out of the roads. And then attacking the roads that do need the work and, setting a goal of so many miles a year, or maybe yards, I don't know, but being progressive about bringing that phaser system better all the time.
Thank you.
Commissioner Sutherland.
I'm going to follow up a little bit, Mr. Black.
Sure.
On what I think Ty was asking, but in a different mode.
Okay.
I know you have been, because you've had experience as a commissioner in Muskegon, you bring with you a lot of knowledge and information and a lot of opinions. And
Sure.
you've been quite critical at times of the road commission and its functioning beyond Bob, in certain ways, on certain issues. And I'm just wondering, number one, how do you see that, how would you reach out and ensure that your working relationships with other commissioners and with the staff would move forward? And do you feel you could listen, second part of that question, do you feel you could listen openly to other methods, other means being presented, given your fairly strong set of opinions that you bring based on experience?
Well, it's interesting. I didn't realize it came across, but my wife tells me that I'm very straightforward. The last question first. Working together, I don't know if that was first, but working together with others. if you were to talk to the director of the Muskegon County Road Commission, you would see that I worked well with everybody. But if something needed to be addressed, I did address it, yes. But I still felt I was a team player. As chair down there the last 3 years, I respected everybody's opinion. They have a right to their opinion, number one, but there's good usually in most every person is finding that and finding their talents. But not being afraid to take the tough issues on head on if you have to. You don't want to do that if at all possible. Not being critical of their opinions because they are entitled to them. I don't know exactly how I came across in what you're referring to as I don't know how you said that exactly, but I don't think that I have any area that I couldn't work with anybody. We had some difficult ones in Muskegon even. Past president of the Teledyne Continental Motors had some very strong opinions, but I went to him privately and talked it over because he was talking down about a wife of one of our township supervisors, and it was getting out into the public. And I went to him and told him, John, you can't do that. You've got to guard your mouth because it's coming back through the news media and so forth. So yeah, we do have to work together, and I'm not a hard person to get along with. Really am not, except with my wife. Bless her heart. 52 years she's put up with me.
You're waking up every morning.
Yeah, she hasn't poisoned me or shot me yet. Yeah.
Mr. Redbach?
Oh.
Yeah, is your experience in the past, did you attend township meetings and work with other villages and cities? And do you see that as part of your job going forward if you were to be appointed?
Certainly, and in our board, we tried to divide the townships between our board members so that each one of us was responsible to at least make an appearance in township board meetings. We had 16 townships down there and 5 board members, so each one of us had at least 3 townships that we tried to stay in touch with, and at least once a quarter go to their board meeting, and or if there was an issue, to go to the board meeting, along sometimes with a director or an engineer, and address the issues if they were needed.
Okay, well, one of the comments that you made was about dirt roads and turning them into paved roads. And there's a couple of roads quite close to me here. One is Miller Hill Road, which is a seasonal dirt road, and it has some control with the township, the road commission, responsibilities, and the Park Service. Would you think it would be a good idea to pave Miller Hill Road?
Well, I'll tell you how that would have to work. The township would have to come alongside the county. Tax dollars have to be, we pay a portion, every road that is improved or worked on, there's a cost sharing between the township and the county. Mm-hmm. And your township, first of all, would have to come alongside and ask for the help and request the paving of the road. Then an engineer would do a study and a cost study and so forth. It's a process that needs to be stepped through. Do I think it should be paved? I'd like to see every gravel road paved, but some of them just, it's not practical. Number of homes on the road and so forth, that type of thing.
Well, the reason I bring this up is because Cheney Road, which is a connector road between Miller Hill Road and Wheeler, Wheeler is paved for a short connection at that point, but the majority of Wheeler Road is not paved, and the Miller Hill Road is part of the Park Service also. So there's a lot of considerations other than just the desire to pave all dirt roads that you would have to work with number of people.
Some townships are harder than others because of the amount of tax dollars they have to work with, and it just doesn't work at all. And whatever they do is very limited. So that has an awful lot of bearing on what you can and can't do.
Okay, thank you.
Thank
Sure.
you. Commissioner Rushing. Get on mute.
Now I see you talking.
Yeah, I'm talking. I said, welcome, Mr. Black.
Yeah.
Happy to have you before us today.
Certainly.
Couple questions. There's been chatter about the Board of Commissioners appointing members to the commission, the Road Commission Board. Currently, as you well know, those commissioners are elected. And I'm wondering what your position is on that. Do you think the board should appoint, or do you think we should continue to allow the general public to elect?
Well, there are a lot of reasons why I think the appointment system is the way to go, and I would always support that over an election. The number one reason, allowing the county board then to have more control over who is on that board, who gets appointed, and if there's a problem, if it has to be addressed, the county board then can address it. I've heard it said by one of the board members that they were afraid of getting too many calls back to the county commissioners. I don't believe that ever happened in all the years I was down there in Muskegon County, because the people knew they had to come to the road commission to get an answer, and they didn't. And if they did call a county commission, the county commission could just direct them to us as a board, and we would deal with the issue.
Thank you for that response. And if I may ask, how many times have you attended road commission meetings in the last year in the efforts of getting familiar with the pertinent problems or goals or positions of the board members? How many meetings have you attended this year?
I would have to say in the last year, but I would have to, I'm going to go back probably a year and a half because that's how long I've been up here. And I'd say 4 to 5 overall. I didn't go to every meeting. I didn't go to very many of them, to be frank with you. Didn't care for the way they were being run, for one. Number two is the COVID thing kept me out of a few that I tried to go to. I got to the door, was turned away. That's been more recent, of course. I wasn't too impressed with what I was seeing because of the way the meeting ran. Trying to get a motion to allow the board members to speak to the audience without any control. I just didn't feel it was a good use of my time, for one.
Currently, one of the other members had talked about historically, there has been full-time employment within the road commission workers, and now they have transitioned to seasonal workers. I think the comment indicated that workers were hard to find, a few other things. As a commissioner, would you be looking at more full-time employment, or would you continue with seasonal employment?
Well, you need seasonal when you come to the winter, the plowing and the additional plow drivers and that type of thing. I'm in favor of full-time wherever possible, but not if they can't be kept busy year-round. Granted, you got chip sealing and that type of thing in the summer that keeps a lot of them busy. But seasonal were needed. I guess that's how I would put it. If you can put them full-time and keep them busy and you've got the tax dollars to pay their salaries, that's one thing. One thing while I'm on that, and that is pay scale for certain type employees. Muskegon County had to open the contract up one time just to increase the pay of mechanics. Hard to get good quality mechanics because they can leave and go to work anywhere. There's high demand for a quality mechanic. And therefore we had to increase the pay on the mechanics to keep them. We were losing our best mechanics. that type of thing. You have to do what you've got to do to keep a smooth running operation.
And Mr. Black, why should we appoint you to this position? What do you bring to the commission that will make it a more effective organization?
Well, I'd like to think that I was one of the more willing members to go out to different meetings. If there was an issue that had to be addressed, I would address it. As chair, when I was chair the last 3 years, I tried to keep a very smooth running board. We had an issue one time between our director and the elected drain commissioner, which ended up with a meeting before the county commissioners because they couldn't seem to get along with each other. And I was asked my opinion on what needed to be done. And I suggested putting both of them in the room and locking the door, not letting them out until they learned to talk to each other civilly. And I really believe that. And then after that, I demanded a copy of each one of their emails to each other. And then I would comment back to either party that the email was either inappropriate or appropriate. And they end up now working very well together.
Do you look at yourself as a problem solver?
If need be, yes. But do I look at myself as one? Not if I don't have to, but if it has to be done, we do it.
How important is it for members of the commission to attend association trainings?
Well, you probably looked at my resume there. The letter from the head of the County Road Association, State of Michigan, Denise Donahue. You'll see that I attended all those meetings, but every year I made a practice of going to every one of them I could possibly get away for. But being a real estate broker, there was times it was difficult and I wasn't able to make every one of them. I went to the state meetings, and they are also council meetings. This road commission is a member of the North Council. I believe in going to these meetings and being educated, driving to other counties and looking at innovative ideas. Kalamazoo County, for instance, had a gravel road, and they were experimenting in dust control, and they had 3 sections of the road, one with shingle chips mixed in. It was this in the gravel, rototilled in, an emulsion on a third of it, and then I can't recall what the last third was, but we drove down there as a road member drove that road to see how about the dust control, how was it holding up. Saginaw County was the first in the state using rubber in the road mix, an 8% or 10% and a 12% emulsion. I made a practice every year when going to a meeting in Bay City or whatever, wherever we're at over that way, to drive those 3 roads to see how they were holding up over a period of years. I think that should be our job, to learn the new techniques, getting involved. State meetings are very important. You pick up from other road commissions what they're trying and doing in their areas, both in employment as well as techniques and so forth. There's a lot to be learned if you make the effort.
Can you share with the board what type of a relationship you've had historically with MDOT?
Well, MDOT, there was a bit of a strain. We had to use quite a bit of a good relationship with MDOT because we were doing the 31 corridor up through there and the other state highways. We worked very closely with MDOT, and I thought I had a real good relationship. I sold one of them a home, an MDOT lady in Muskegon County. So yeah, I think we worked well with MDOT, as well as needed be.
What would you do to increase or improve the county share of MDOT dollars going forward?
County sheriff, you said?
What would you do to improve the county's share of the MDOT dollars?
Well, we're somewhat restricted. We'd have to work through our state council, state senators and representatives, because that MDOT formula was put together so many years ago, it would take state action to change it. I don't foresee it being changed. It's been talked about for the last 20 to 30 years and it hasn't changed, so I don't really think it's going to change right away. MDOT happens to like it. Don't blame them.
Thank you very kindly for your comments today.
Sure.
Any other follow-up questions? Commissioner Ansari.
A lot of this work has to be done on your computer to keep up with the minutes and all the handouts. Do you have a good internet connection at your house? And
Yes.
how comfortable are you, researching things and working on the computer?
I get on the computer, but I'll be frank with you, I'm not a lover of spending a lot of time on it. I use it as a tool because that's what it's meant for, and I don't sit around and play with Facebook and that type of thing. And my wife does that on the phone, I think, but I use it as a tool. If it's a Zoom meeting, I'd use it as a Zoom meeting and that type of thing. Fortunately, I've got a daughter around the corner she's a whiz, and if I need help, she'll help me.
Do it if you have to.
That's right.
Okay.
Any other questions? Well, thank you very much, being done. I really appreciate you coming in, and we appreciate your.
Yep. Well, thank you very much for the opportunity.
Thank you, Don.
Okay, so then that would bring up Mr. Gregory, I believe. Come forward there, Bob. Thank you, Bob, for coming this morning. And usually we start out if you want to just make a statement, and then we'll just go on with the question from there.
Okay, I assume that everybody's seen the background information that I shared.
Very nice.
And I'd be glad to expand on that wherever or whatever needs to be expanded on. I've been a resident of the county since actually a landowner since January of 1971. Grew up in the thumb of Michigan, as my brother would say. We moved from the inside hangnail of the thumb to the inside hangnail of the little finger, from Seaboyne to Sutton's Bay, and now I live in Leelanau. Raised my family down in Bingham Township, right across from the research station. We have 4 children and 15 grandchildren that we get to share our life with. My experience with the overall county comes from being a taxpayer in 5 different townships through our farm organization. Our farm organization is a multi-million-dollar sales organization of cherries and apples and some other commodities. We vertically integrated into food processing and have substantial investment in Shoreline Fruit LLC, which is a fruit dryer and concentrator. And together in our organizations, cross-company affiliations, we employ seasonally up to 500 employees in the Grand Traverse area. I'd like to say that my experience with the Road Commission dates back to the early 70s with Glenn Noonan's role on the Road Commission and Mr. Gilbo and Rod Johnson and others had interaction in terms of needing to have road access from farms, seeing weaknesses in roads and pointing them out, and then over the years have watched it. We are very, very blessed in Leelanau County to have well-drained soils for the most part. Our roads hold up very well. Coming from the thumb of Michigan and seeing a lot of roads on clay and seeing what heaving and thawing, freezing conditions can do to roads, we are very, very fortunate. And our roads are much superior to the vast majority part of the state of Michigan. So with that, I think I'll step aside and allow you to ask questions and see if I can respond appropriately.
But the first thing I usually ask is, you know, and you realize that you also would put you on, if you are appointed, the dam authority and the Public Works Commission.
I realize that the road commission has that responsibilities, or those commissioners are involved with that. And I would, you know, have a learning curve in both of those.
Would you have the time though for those meetings as they, you know, as they're called?
I will. Back in our farming operation and expanded fruit operation, I have gone to semi-retirement, and that's why I feel I have the time to commit to the road commission and to these other functions.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here this morning, Bob, and for your interest. Yes, you did submit with us a very impressive resume, so clearly you've run a successful business. So I may ask you, what skills would you bring from your business that might help make the road commission a more effective operation?
I think the first skill that I have that I've learned over the years, whether it's been with the farm operation or working on the Bingham Township Planning Commission or others, is an ability to listen and to hear, to sound out other people, to push them in terms of positions that they have, why they think they're good positions, what the strengths and weaknesses are, and then ultimately to coalesce those ideas and come to, you know, agreement, compromise, a direction for the organization to go in.
All right, thank you.
Commissioner West.
I have to say that your introductory letter was fascinating to read. Thank you very much for taking the time. The very last paragraph of that letter, you talk about your receipt of the Cherry Industry Person of the Year, and you said it's not about me, it's about the team. So if you are the road commissioner, how would you like to see the team of workers, employees, road commissioners, management work together? What are your best hopes?
Well, I think first we need to realize that every person is an individual, and every individual sees things from a different parameter, different position. You know, if you're looking from the woods from the west side versus the east side, you have a different perspective. What I like to do is to find out what those perspectives are, why they're based in this bias, and then to expand that to see whether or not they can understand other positions and other perspectives. Helping people to look at the total picture rather than a subset, I think, is very critical.
Follow-up question, as everybody in Leelanau County is aware of, there were some issues in the road commission, on the road commission board a couple of months ago. If you would have been a road commissioner at that time, how would you have acted? What actions would you have taken? What public statements might you have made? And what would be your hope to move forward?
Probably the biggest disappointment to the community would be that I wouldn't make any public statements, but I would be the type of person that would go to the individual, have a heart-to-heart discussion, and encourage people to go back and apologize when they're wrong. Some people won't get there, but that's where I intervene, is on a one-to-one basis. I always feel that compliments should be shared with everyone. Criticism should be shared with the individual.
Thank you.
Commissioner.
Thank you. Welcome.
Thank you.
I'm going to focus on money. Tell me a little bit about the McNick Act and Act 51, and where do you think the priorities are as the funding, where the priorities are and the limited funding that we have?
Well, the first thing that I'd like to say is that we go back to previous to those acts. Michigan Farm Bureau was founded on the subject that they want to put all of the road tax or all the taxes necessary for roads on land and on farmers. And that really was instigating for Michigan Farm Bureau to band together and move this thing forward. The acts that we have, my biggest disappointment is that in the collection of road taxes, that the state legislature have found it appropriate to put so many of those funds away from the roads, away from state highways, county roads, interstates, et cetera, and onto hiking trails, biking trails, other venues. So I think I'm not opposed to those. I'm just opposed to how they're funded. And I think that's disrupted a lot of funding for the roads. Back to supporting the roads, I view that the nominal property taxes that have been assessed in Leelanau County for the last almost 20 years have been very appropriate and very wisely used in terms of helping to give our county an edge in maintaining the roads. Do some changes need to be made or desired in Act 51 and McNitt's? Yeah. Specifically, I don't have any recommendations today, but I'm willing to continue to learn and abide. I haven't spent a lot of time backgrounding myself in either of those acts other than knowing that what they do in terms of authorizing road commissions to function and splitting up road tax dollars.
Thank you.
Yes.
Mr. Gregory, welcome. And I have just a couple questions. Number one, what do you see as the overall function of the Board of Commissioners? I'm sorry, can you hear me?
Yes, okay. The overall function, I think, first is their primary function is to hire management to operate the road commission. That's the number one function, to hire qualified individuals to manage and direct the road commission. And then to come alongside them in terms of helping them secure additional people to carry the load so that it's not all being borne by one person. The number two position is to be a liaison with the community, whether issues so that individuals can come forward if they're having some issues with the road commission management, that there's an avenue to come in and share and to put that on the table. Not necessarily to always back the citizen, but to give them an avenue to reach out a little bit further and to review the issues. And third, I think, is to monitor what's going on in the county in terms of the roads and just being additional eyes and ears to the road commission staff and to bounce ideas off them in terms of what might need to be done or where emphasis may need to be placed.
In fact, you actually answered another question I was going to ask, so I will stop there.
Commissioner Rettenbach?
Thank you very much for coming today and allowing us to ask you some questions. Your experience in the cherry industry is certainly very impressive. And I've appreciated your thoughtful answers to the questions that we've been asking so far. If you were appointed and took the position immediately, what would be your first priority to bring to the board, or what do you think is the most important thing that needs to be accomplished?
Well, I guess I'd like to say that the first thing that I've seen since Mr. Eckerly stepped down is I see a board that's functioning as a much healthier board than it had been for a long time. But I would continue to move that forward and address the issues that come before the board. I don't have any agenda that I'm taking. I've got some biases. The biases that I have, two things that I look at as the cost-benefit ratios. And I see a lot of guardrails that have gone up over the last 10, 12 years. And since that time, I've seen a lot of woody plants and brush and tissue grow above the guardrails, closing in on the roads. That needs to be addressed. The second one I see is a lot of reflectors that have gone up around the counties, state highways and stuff to make it supposedly safer to travel. But I really wonder whether they've done a cost-benefit ratio in terms of what that's done in terms of making those roads safer versus what it's done to make them more dangerous. i.e., I now have road commission employees out there mowing the roadsides, and where they used to be able to progress down the road side mowed continuously, now they got to stop and start and lift and go around those various reflectors. And I don't think it's all been thought out. We sometimes jump to conclusions without thinking about the repercussions.
What about the relationship between the road commission and township boards?
The relationship needs to be a healthy relationship. When there's issues in terms of roads, local roads that need to be addressed, we need to sit down at the table and discuss what those are. I don't believe it's all or nothing. I believe there's give and take in them.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Rushing. Got on mute.
They just don't like hearing me for some reason. Welcome, Bob. Nice to meet
Thank
you
you
today. And impressive resume. Appreciate your common sense comments. One of the questions that this board has entertained different times is whether we should go change the road commission in such a way that the Board of Commissioners would be allowed to appoint. There's been conversation about that, and I'm wondering what your position is on that. Do you feel that the County Road Commission, that the people should be able to elect those commissioners, or do you think the Board of Commissioners should have a role in this and appoint commissioners? Wondered what your position was on that.
Until somebody can convince me otherwise, that there's a real merit in the County Board of Commissioners to appoint the Road Commission, my bias is that it's just one more level, one more layer of micromanaging. I believe the citizens can step up to the table and elect competent road commissioners. The Board of Commissioners can have input in that in terms of coming alongside candidates for the Road Commission. There's nothing wrong with that. But for the County Board of Commissioners to take over that responsibility, I don't see a lot of benefit, but I see a lot of time consumed and a lot of politics. And I believe the Road Commission is particularly positioned to be nonpartisan.
Thank you for that answer. My other question is have you been following or have you attended any of the Road Commission meetings in the last year? Are you aware of current issues?
I've read minutes. I've been to one Road Commission meeting, part of one Road Commission meeting. Excuse me. And I've had dialogue probably with a half dozen or more employees, including the new manager.
How many engineers do you think should be employed on the Road Commission? I'm sorry, it should be appointed to the Road Commission or to be employed by the county road?
It's a good question. If the Road Commission or if the engineer is a civil engineer, he has background in roads, bridges, dams, etc., there's a definite position. If they're just a general engineer or electrical engineer, I'm not sure that the value is any greater than a very competent citizen sitting on the Road Commission. My understanding that the engineer that we had left, and now we have a technician, and my understanding of that operation is that for any engineering work, we have to go outside of the county to have details done, I's dotted and T's crossed. And can Leelanau County afford its own engineer? I've got to do more study to answer that.
Okay, thank you for that. Tell us why we should appoint you to this position, and what do you bring to the commission that will make it a more effective organization?
Well, I think I've shared with you and the others that the skill sets that I have in terms of working with people, to bringing about compromises when compromises need to be sought, when we need to go further in depth to look at problems in greater detail. I do not hesitate to dig a little bit deeper. I am not one to micromanage, but one to try to hire and find the most competent individuals to direct and manage. If I want to micromanage, then I better, solicit the job of manager or director or other employee on the road commission. So I think the skill sets that I have would be very commendable to add to the road commission. I believe that the experience that I have with the roads in the majority of the eastern side of the county, but to a lesser extent on the western side, the traveling that I do, that I have a pretty good feel for what's happening out there. One of the things that I really commend the road commission over the last 7 years or so is when they started doing their summer maintenance jobs, seal coating, chipping, etc., that they started to localize those and move those around the county from time to, year after year, and created a greater impact in one area rather than doing a little bit here and a little bit there and a little bit there, in order to give everybody impression that they were maintaining the roads and the efficiency dropped off, and they've really become much more efficient in their operation. Their additional side scrapers on the snowplow trucks, where they're not only scraping the center of the road but also part of the shoulders. They've done a lot of things to become more efficient, and that's what I look forward. In our farm operation, I tell people think that we're apple and cherry growers, and I go back and tell them, no, we're labor trainers and we're recyclers. And for many of you, you've seen the school buses going up and down the road carrying cherries, and we've recycled school buses, we recycled pickups into fork trucks, and we've been first-time employers for a lot of young people, and last-time employers for a lot of retirees that want some seasonal work. So I look at that labor force, and I was in the session here a little bit earlier with the last individual, and the question came up in terms of seasonal versus full-time. And I think he hit the nail right on the head. There is a role for seasonal, and there is a role for full-time. And you give me a full-time worker that's efficient in what he does, on the road commission all year round, I have no problem with that whatsoever. But to think that we can hire enough full-time people to maintain the snowplow removal in the wintertime, we're only kidding ourselves, and we're subsidizing those people for the balance of the year.
And my final question, how important do you feel it is for commissioners to attend the association training meetings?
I believe it's very critical, and for those of us that are less knowledgeable, it's even more critical to step up and take advantage of that.
Thank you very much for your comments today. I do appreciate you being here.
Thank you.
Are there any other follow-up questions? Did you have any other closing statements?
Yeah, the only final closing statement, you have been assigned the responsibility to hire the next person to fill that position for 2 years, and then they'll go to election. I challenge you to, with the information that you've had and heard, that you choose the individual that you think can best serve the road commission in Leelanau County, and I'll abide by that decision. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Really appreciate you coming in.
Mr. Chair, could we take 2 minutes?
Certainly, certainly. We have 5 minutes.
Wow, you're generous.
We'll take a 5-minute break.
What?
white shirts.
Yes.
All right, I'd like to call this back to order, please. And we have here Mr. Gard, and I really appreciate you being here, Mr. Gard, I'm sorry. And, we'll start out, I guess, I'll start out, if you'd like to start with a statement about what you're doing, you can take the mask off while you talk so we can hear you clearly. I appreciate that.
Okay. Well, as you're all aware, I did run for County Road Commission both in 2018 and 2020. I was not elected, as you're also probably very aware, but after my retirement from Grand Traverse County Road Commission in 2018, I still had the desire to provide service, and I've done some work with TART, but when the Leelanau County Road Commission decided to expand from 3 people to 5 people, I thought it might be a good opportunity to bring some of my background and experience to Leelanau County. My mother's family, my father's family are both long-term residents, several generations residents in Leelanau County. So it's always been home to me, and since I'm no longer need to work at a full-time employment, I thought it might be a good opportunity to provide some of my background and knowledge to Leelanau County.
So, and you're aware that it involves the public, the Board of Public Works and also the dam authority?
Yes.
And so you would be available for the meetings that are, as they're called, for those?
Yeah, absolutely. I had experience working on dams and also a lot of experience working with water and sewer and other public works. I've done that throughout my career as a consultant. So I understand that this is not a 2-meeting a month job, that there's a substantial amount of time involved. And when I was with Grand Traverse County, I recognized how much time that those commissioners spend working, communicating with the public, attending other meetings, working with townships is a big part of it. And
their notion that they can't hear you, I guess you'd have to speak a little louder or...
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I tend to be a little bit soft-spoken, but I'll speak up. Yeah, I recognize that there's a lot of other activities that go on. The County Road Association has meetings. As a professional engineer, I need to continue my education to maintain my license, and I've done that by attending the Michigan Traffic Safety Summit in Lansing every year, which is a 2 or 3 day activity where they have seminars and presentations to discuss safety as it relates to transportation and traffic. So I count on this being a pretty busy position.
Commissioner Lautner.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for being here today.
I'm glad to be here.
Yes, and you have an interesting background too, having worked with Grand Traverse County Road Commissioners. If appointed to the position, what would be your first priority?
Well, I think one of the most important things is to stabilize the administrative side of the road commission. As you know, we've had several road commission managers over the past few years, after Jim Johnson had been there seemingly forever. So that's done by supporting your administrative personnel, having clear goals and objectives in terms of what they need to do, and opening lines of communication so they understand what the board wishes them to do, and if there's certain issues that need to be addressed, addressing those right up front.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here.
Glad to be here.
In the in the last paragraph of your letter of application, well, first of all, thanks for both running and applying. In your last paragraph, you said, "I'm excited at the opportunity to bring my talents to Leelanau County." Well, I've had a couple of conversations with you, and you are soft-spoken, and you are reserved. So I'd like to challenge you to take a minute and really tell us loudly what your talents are that you'd be bringing.
Well, I have a variety of talents, and a lot of what anybody brings to the position is their experience. And my experience is part of my talents. As a professional civil engineer, I've done numerous projects throughout the state. I've worked on projects in Leelanau County. I've run companies. My company, when I came up here in 1999, was EC&S Engineering. It had formerly been Walker Engineering. It had about 4 people at the time. We were able to expand that business to over 37 people with over $2 million in revenue. So you can only successfully expand a business by running it well. So I bring that part of my talents includes working with people, working with employees, having them achieve the best that they can achieve by setting clear goals and objectives and guidelines for them to work within. And after that, when I went to Grand Traverse County, we implemented a whole number of new systems that improved the efficiency of the road commission. When I first went there, one of my responsibilities was to take over the permits. That had been then done on a paper system. We automated that system, which greatly improved the efficiency. We were also able to improve our weighmaster enforcement by developing some systems for determining whether trucks were overweight or not. We were able to implement that and work with the Michigan State Police on that. So I think some of my primary talents are being able to bring people together to work to solve problems. And that's really what I sort of jokingly say, what do engineers do? We solve problems.
Thank you.
Mr. Answer.
Thank you. Welcome.
Thank you.
Questions I normally ask, with your background, you know more about it than I do, so I'm gonna switch up here a little bit with you, just because I'm curious, having worked at Grand Traverse County and knowing what's going on in Leelanau County, give me just 2 things that you think we should be doing that we're not doing in Leelanau County at the Road Commission.
Well, one of the things that Grand Traverse did that I think was pretty effective is when a new project, a development project came in to the Road Commission, we would make sure that we would get that to county planning and let them know that we were seeing a permit application to do something. Because the way developers sometimes work is they don't always communicate very well with all the different agencies, the township, if there's a utilities involved, the road commission, the drain commission, and we were able to implement a system where we all became aware of that new project that was coming in. And that made the review of that project and the coordination within the governmental side of it much better. The other thing I think that needs to be implemented in Leelanau County is a much stronger asset management plan, and I worked at that at Grand Traverse County as well. And what is necessary for that to take place is you have to take a look at all the conditions of your roads. Well, there's 2 sides of it. First of all, there's the sides of the roads, which include signs, pavement markings, pavement conditions. The second part of that is the assets that you have in your trucks, your graders, your loaders. And I know you just hired Tim Trudell. He's a good person. I worked with him at Leelanau County, and he worked on the asset management for that side. I worked on the asset management side for the roads. And it's not always a common sense thing when you're looking at where to spend your money to get the most bang for your buck on roads. You may have a road that, roads are all rated in what's called a PASER system, pavement analysis system, from 1 to 10. A 10 is a brand new road, a 1 is a road that is in need of complete repair. But you don't always necessarily start back at what the lowest number are and try to improve those and work up as you have funds to do it. You may want to take a road that is, say, at a level 4, but you can put a chip seal on it and bring it up to a 7 or an 8 and extend the life of it significantly. So one of the things that's done in asset management is you take a look at all of your roads, you take a look at the number of vehicles that travel on it by taking travel counts, and then you make a determination on where you get the most improvement in your overall system for the dollar. So you may end up chip sealing a lot of roads one year. The next year you may end up doing reconstruct on a couple roads that have a lot of traffic and are in poor repair. So asset management works over a 20-year period where you try to see where you're going to be at in 5 years, 10 years, 20 years in terms of your overall quality of roads. How many are poor, how many are fair, how many are good, and how many are excellent. So implementation of an asset management plan, I think is really important.
Go ahead.
Just a quick follow-up. And, like I said, you know more about this than I do, but when you're following that kind of a plan, is there any provision in there that, here's this poor slob that lives out on this road that not very many people live on or travel on, and by that criteria, his road is never going to get fixed? Is there a circuit breaker in there someplace to say, okay, we haven't touched that road for 25 years, they're paying the same taxes everybody else pays. Is there some circuit breaker in there to say, we're going to look at that road?
That's what the road commission does.
Okay, that's the circuit breaker.
That's the circuit breaker, because typically in asset management plans, you don't necessarily identify the specific roads that need improvements. You identify classes of roads. You have so many roads that are PASER rated at 5, and you want to take those up to an 8 with a chip seal, and you have so many that need an overlay, and you upgrade from a 4 to a 9. But the asset management plan doesn't necessarily set the priorities for which roads get improved. So part of what the responsibility of the road commission, working with the manager, of course, is to say, let's put together the next 5 years on the roads we think need to be improved, and what kind of fix that we're going to put on that road. And the poor slob that lives at the end of a road that's been horrible for 20 years, you might have identified funds to improve roads that are classified as a 1 or a 2. And it's up to the road commission to make that decision. Is that the best place to spend that money?
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Green, for being here. There's no question your experience and knowledge as a civil engineer is a plus. And you just answered the last question by touching on function of the Board of Commission. And I'd like to follow up on that and say, what do you see as the primary function of the road commissioners themselves?
Well, the road commission under Act 51 is assigned responsibilities. One is to budget the money each year, and they should look out actually a few years in terms of budget to anticipate where they're going to spend their money. It's to develop and enforce the policies that are of the road commission in terms of use of roads, driveways. It's to maintain and plow the roads, a very critical part of what the road commission assigns to their staff to do, and their staff being the manager. one of the interesting things that I looked at as I looked at the safety statistics for Leelanau County. The last year I had at the time, I looked at them a year ago, was 2017. And I saw that the majority of the crashes occurred during the winter, during commute hours on the state highways. And since the Road Commission maintains those, one of my personal objectives is safety. I was responsible for safety at Grand Traverse County, and I think that's one of the things that I want to focus on if I get appointed to the Road Commission. We want to take a look at that and see if there's changes that can be made in terms of how those roads are plowed, or the amount of salt and sand that are put on them, and the timing of that to improve the safety during the winter commute hours on the state highways, because there was over 600 crashes that year. Majority were single car, run off the road, property damage type crashes, which fortunately don't have a lot of injuries, but are very expensive. And part of the responsibility of the Road Commission is to make sure we provide safe and effective roads.
And if I may, a follow-up question. Kind of along that lines, what do you see as the primary goals this year for the Road Commission?
Well, I would say one of the primary goals, or the primary goal for this year, is to develop asset management plans. So there's a long-term plan for how we're going to spend the money, where, what fixes we're going to do, what type of equipment we're going to improve. We have to have replacement of trucks, they wear out. The asset management plan is sort of the basis for making those decisions.
So, thank you for your answers, and I agree with you, engineers are problem solvers.
Thank you. Commissioner Rettenbach.
Good afternoon. It's nice to have you with us. Thank you for applying and for running for the Road Commission job for the last two times that you were able to. How do you see the Road Commission communicating with the townships about what needs to be done with the roads, and what priority would you give the information that you get from them?
Well, the town, where's the camera? I should look at here.
It's right above the TV there.
If you look at the screen, yeah, that's good. Yeah.
Okay, great. Communicating with the township is vitally important, because they are the local citizens that have to live with what the Road Commission does day in and day out. At Grand Traverse County, and I'm not sure if Leelanau set up the same way, but every commissioner was assigned certain townships, and they would attend the township meetings on a regular basis, maybe not every month, but typically at least every other meeting, if not every meeting, and discuss what was going on at the Road Commission in terms of projects, and listen to see what concerns or desires that the township had in terms of what projects they should be working on. Also at that time is a good time to listen to see if there's any development projects that are going on that the Road Commission should be aware of that have been submitted to the township for review or discussed with the township, or rezonings that may impact the amount of traffic that's going to be on certain roads.
Okay. I'm so impressed with your background. It's hard to think of questions that I'm sure I can't think of anything else to ask you. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Commissioner Rushton. Please unmute.
I'm not muted. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Welcome.
Thank you.
Yes. I've asked the question repeatedly, and I will ask you. There's been consideration in regards to how the road commissioners are placed, whether they're appointed by the county board or elected by the citizens. And I'm wondering what your position is on that.
Well, in Grand Traverse County, the commissioners are appointed by the township board. Of course, here in Leelanau, they're elected. I'm not sure it makes too much difference to how the board functions. The people make the decision in one case, the commissioners in another. I personally don't have a big preference, in spite of the fact that I've run twice and not been elected, but I don't have a personal preference. I think either method is fine and it's perfectly reasonable.
Thank you for that. My other question is, how many Leelanau County Road Commission meetings have you attended, watched in the last year?
Well, I attended a number in 2018 when I was running, but this year, because of the COVID situation, I tend to look at their agendas and read the minutes, and I've done that for every meeting in the past 6 to 9 months.
And that's what I was looking for, to see if you had an ongoing knowledge of situations that have come before that board. Projects.
Yes, I'm following both the agenda and also reading the minutes to see what actions are taken on different activities.
And I'm not sure, I didn't have sound initially for whatever reason, but I wasn't sure if the issue or about Public Works or the Dam Authority. I guess my question there is, how or what would your position be in regards to those two boards? What would you bring as an asset to those two boards?
Well, in both of those cases, when I was doing my consulting work, I was certified by the state for doing dam inspections, and I did a number of them, and also worked with a number of different county drain commissions in terms of reviewing small structures, including dams. And I have done some large dam inspections, so I feel confident that I am knowledgeable about that. I've also done a lot of water, sewer, storm sewer design in my consulting businesses. So I've done a lot of drain work in the past. So I feel very confident that I can bring expertise to both of those.
Mm-hmm. I thought I heard someone mention that you were a bit on the shy side. Did I hear that comment being made?
Well, I don't know if they said shy, but they said soft-spoken, and okay. I will admit being soft-spoken.
Well, I don't find that today. I think you're very articulate, and you didn't appear shy to me today. So thank you for your time.
I don't think I'm shy. I think engineers in general tend to be somewhat introverted. I'm not so much as most, I think.
Thank you so much.
Commissioner West.
I have a question we haven't asked yet today, but all of us here have been interested in expanding broadband across the county. And when we've talked to ISPs, one of the things that slows it down, just one of the things, is road commission approvals and policies. Can you speak to that? And does the road commission, can you balance the safety and all the other issues and help that process along?
You know, that's an interesting question, because one of the last things I worked on in Grand Traverse County before I retired was the implementation of policies, and the Michigan Association of Road Commissioners actually have published some documents on this in terms of you cannot prevent unreasonable use of the right-of-way by broadband type suppliers. One of the things that you can do, though, is have reasonable policies in place where you say your equipment must be so far off the road, it must be placed on existing poles if you have them, and they feasibly work, technically work. Equipment has to be located in a safe manner behind the ditch line. So if you have those policies in place, I don't think it's unreasonable to allow broadband companies to use the right-of-way safely and put it as part of your policy and allow it by permit. They may have to post a bond so that if, for instance, they go out of business or they change their business model where those types of systems don't work anymore, you have some assurance that they don't just walk away and leave that equipment there, that you have the financial capacity to go in there and remove it should they not do that. Then you would release the bond to them after that. But I think by establishing a policy saying that it's allowable within the road commission right away, here are your standards, then it makes it quite easy for them to look at those standards and say, yeah, we can do this and we want to locate them within the right of way.
Thank you. Any other questions? Commissioner Rushton.
Yes, I have one last question. If you, as a commissioner on the road commission, were found that you were in the position that you needed to hire a new director for the road commission, what kind of characteristics or skill sets would you be looking for in a director?
Well, first of all, I would hope that that isn't necessary, at least for a long time. But should that happen, you want to find somebody that's familiar with how road commissions operate, that's a good, clear communicator, that understands the laws that they have to work within, and it has the ability to evaluate and hire good personnel to work for them. Managers are only as good as the people that work for them.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Did you have any last statement or anything that you wanted to say?
Well, I'd just like to thank you for the time that you've spent with me today. I appreciate it. I am excited about this, as excited as engineers show. And I look forward, hopefully, to the opportunity to work with the rest of the board. My personal opinion is this really is more of a nonpartisan type situation. We look at objective criteria in terms of what we do, use our best experience and judgment in making decisions, and go from there. So with that, I'd like to thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So then that would, then you're set, you can go or you can stay if you want. I mean, you don't have to leave. I'm going to bring it back to the board here for discussion. Commissioner Locke.
Thank you. Well, that was my first question is now we're into the discussion portion. So just discussion, action.
We can do action too because it's a special meeting.
All right. Well, that was my question. First, I want to say it's really nice to have a nice slate of candidates to choose from. I mean, we had 6, so that to me is a nice slate. All kinds of backgrounds and all demographics in the county, so that's nice. So as we went through this, I tried to look at everyone who did a really good job, by the way, and tried to list what they would bring to the road commission, and thought, wow, if I have to only choose one, which we only can choose one, who would fit the overall picture of fitting in on the board. And with everything I see brought, with everything committed in the statement today, I'm prepared to make a motion. So, okay. Well, I would recommend that we appoint Robert E. Gregory to the Road Commission opening for the remainder of the term to end in 2022 of December?
November.
Okay, thank you.
I will support.
So,
Go ahead.
okay. A lot of what I thought interesting with Bob, and what kind of surprised me, because I wasn't sure about any of the candidates coming in. I had a really open mind. But the way he answered his questions, his community involvement, his answers and his ability to work together, his business sense and his people skills, and as I said before, he would give us some of that west side of county representation that I think is very important. That did come up today. And the fact that he looks at, and he mentioned, every person is an individual, and every individual has, their own opinion. And I liked that. So just his skill sets all together, and the respect he's earned in the community led me to make this recommendation.
Commissioner Ansari.
Thank you. We have a slate of very good candidates. Any one of them could be a road commissioner, in my opinion. And they bring different skill sets and different expertise with them to that position. So I looked at it a little bit differently. I looked at it and I said, where's the road commission today? They have an empty slot, obviously, and that's what we're going to fill. But I looked at what the situation is in the road commission as a whole. We're going to have a new CEO, if you will, the new director. We are going to have a new engineer. And I looked at it and I said, in filling this slot, who can we get to make that whole transition, the whole road commission, not just the commissioners, but the whole road commission, who could jump in there and make an impact immediately and help out in the situation where we are today. And I do feel that we have a couple of candidates that have already have the background and experience as being road commissioners. And we have one candidate that also has engineering background. And from my perspective, in filling this empty slot, we should be looking at who can we get the most bang for the buck in helping out the slots where the issues that we know are already out there in the road commission as a whole. So I am not going to support the current motion just because I think we have a candidate that could better help out where the road commission is today, and that's what we should be attempting to do. Thank you.
Commissioner Sutis.
I think Commissioner Wessel was.
Well, you had your hand up as well.
Yes, okay. I think Commissioner Ansari, I think Commissioner Ansari expressed very well part of what I was going to say, and that is, we had a surprising number of really excellent candidates, which makes this task difficult. And I was hoping we'd have discussion before we had a motion. And I'd like to propose that we look at a different way of handling this, maybe by letting people choose the top two candidates and see where there's commonality in terms of who could best fill this position. No question, several of them had what I think is needed to carry forward right now. And I would have a difficult time right now supporting this motion, even though I think Mr. Gregory did a good job. I think we need more discussion, and I also think we need to look at all of the candidates and maybe a different way of arriving at a decision than just to have one name tossed out and voted on either way.
Well, I mean, we are supposed to have a motion before we have a discussion. We don't, and you're right, we don't usually do it that way, but I mean, this is actually what's supposed to happen. Commissioner West.
Yeah, I think we're too quick to make motions that makes it a little more difficult to have the discussion that we ought to have. I thought we had good candidates. I think in terms of the skill set we're looking for, our final candidate was far ahead of anybody else that we interviewed, and I'm going to vote no on the motion that's on the table. And based upon what I heard Tony saying, I would then be prepared to make a motion to support Garth Greenan as a commissioner.
Any other comment? Commissioner Rettenbach.
As each candidate was addressing the board, I was, making some notes about, different things. And Lieutenant Kiesel, he certainly knows the roads, and he has a connection with the public, which I thought was excellent. Mr. Zeitz also, his history with the county. He understands the dam, the public works, the taxpayers' wishes. I thought that Mr. Adler has much more of an administrative attitude and would be an excellent addition policy-wise with his answers of selecting other employees. I think he'd be good with the input there. Mr. Black, understanding of training and the things that he'd been through. Mr. Gregory, so knowledgeable about management of business, being a good team player, gave very thoughtful answers, mentioned road safety, which was very impressive to me. All of these candidates are so excellent, but Mr. Greenan, he has all of the above qualities that all those people, that I had indicated, his education, his background. I mean, when you read the additional skills that he has, licensed professional engineer, continuing education in traffic safety, proficient in graphic software, certified road pacer ratings, which, we don't even know what that is. Previously certified weighmaster, proficient in all kinds of electronic PowerPoint, tech skills. I just think that he's by far the outstanding candidate, in the field. So although, as I say, I really appreciated Mr. Gregory's thoughtful answers and experience, I won't be supporting the motion either.
Well, I'd just like to say that I worked with Mr. Gregory for many years on the planning commission in Bingham Township. He's a very, very common sense guy. I love when he talked about, the benefit ratio. And I think that's something he's very, very understanding about, and I do not see where he would be any detriment at all to the road commission. So, I mean, I will support it. I also understand what everyone else is saying as well, that we do have a tremendous, if we could take parts of every one, it would probably be a wonderful thing, but we can't do that. So I'll support this, but I'm also, I'll know where we're headed here. Commissioner Long.
I have a couple of concerns. A few concerns. I think that we are looking for someone that's going to serve as a good board member. So we are not looking for a manager and we're not looking for an engineer. Sometimes those skill sets come in handy, but as I said, I think that you need the entire package, and what we're looking for is someone that's going to be a good board member. Sometimes when you hire somebody in our position, by hiring somebody, say, who was an attorney, you know, then you start getting conflicting points of views with when we already have our attorney, etc. And I could see that potentially being a problem with whoever the road commission hires us as an engineer. I have a concern that I was a little shocked in the end when Mr. Greenan almost sounded a little too confident about sitting on the board, and it made me wonder what conversations were going on outside of this board. What I don't know, I do know that Commissioner Rettenbach and Commissioner Sotis Little had a running conversation on their phone about the candidates during this meeting. And that gives me some great concern. So my biggest concern is that we had some of our residents being called poor slobs. And I'm just shocked that we could call people poor slobs and get appointed to the road commission. So that's my biggest concern. That just, I know a lot of very fine people that live at the end of roads, and I don't look at them that way at all. And that was very disappointing to me.
Commissioner Answer.
Just for the record, I have had no discussion about any road commissioner candidates with any other commissioner, period, before this meeting.
Appreciate that.
So I don't know if you were talking to me specifically, but I have not. So for the record.
Commissioner Rushing.
There's a lot of things that I agree about what was said about each one of these candidates. They each have come to this board with certain skill sets, certain attitudes, I believe could very easily fill the position. I do point out, however, that, you know, there was conversation about the need to have a civil engineer in that organization, and I think that's a big draw. However, I believe Commissioner Lautner pointed out, you know, the potential of conflict in an area when we're looking for a commissioner to serve on the board and picking a certain need that the commission may need. We need a commissioner that is going to fulfill all of the obligations of that position. And it, in my opinion, Mr. Gregory is just enough removed from that board to be able to make maybe better decisions as a whole for that commission. I like his common sense approach. I like that he has had the experience in running small to large businesses with employees. I like that he has been able to work through problems, finding solutions. And as Commissioner Rettenbach pointed out, his mention of safety and the importance of being educated about your subject. There's just a lot of things. And quite frankly, when I looked at the resume, I thought, well, he's a cherry farmer. He's a, how does he fit with road commission? And initially, I kind of put him on the bottom of the list or towards the bottom of the list. But when I met him and listened to his philosophies, I think he is the perfect and the appropriate person to serve in that capacity. So I will be supporting him today. That is not to say that the other applicants did not bring many different skill sets and levels of integrity and purpose to this meeting today. I appreciate, and I hope we can see some of those applicants serving in different capacities within our county, because I think each one of them could be an asset in our county.
Thank you. This be a roll call vote, please.
Oh, sure.
Commissioner Lautner,
Yes.
Commissioner Rettenbach,
No?
Commissioner Rushton,
Yes.
Commissioner Studeswittle,
No.
Commissioner Wessel,
No.
Commissioner Answergi,
No.
Chairman Bonick,
Yes.
motion fails 3-4.
Motion fails 3 to 4, or 4 to 3. So now we go to another yes, Commissioner Wessel.
I move to appoint Garrett Greenan to the Leelanau County Road Commission.
I second that.
Is there any other discussion? Commissioner Ansel.
Thank you. In the discussion of, what skill sets are we looking for? If you follow the logic that, we don't want or need somebody with road commission experience, do we also not need or want somebody with management experience? Should we pick somebody that doesn't have that? Should we pick somebody that isn't even familiar with the county because they got some bias? I don't buy that logic. I think we should be picking the best person for the job, and I don't care about anything else. And I looked at this, the job that we're looking at for the whole road commission, not just as a commissioner, but who can benefit the whole road commission. And I think you pick the person with the most experience, especially when we are light on experience right now within the road commission. That's what it came down to for me. So, that's just where I'm from. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other, Commissioner Rettenbach?
Yes, at the end of Mr. Green's time with us, he was asked the question of, what do you think the priority of the road commission should be? And he brought up every positive thing that I feel the road commission should be doing. Budget the money, develop and enforce policy, address safety issues, and the asset management plan. I just, as I stated before, I don't see how you could get a better candidate than this, although I so appreciated the other candidates and what they had to offer as well. And, I commend Mr. Gregory on the success of his business, and I was very respectful of his presentation. So I didn't mean with my no vote that I was in any way trying to diminish what I think he could possibly add to the road commission as well. I just think that Mr. Greenan's experience and background is more well suited. I have to say that I am going back to a comment that was made by one of the other commissioners, road commissioners, in a public meeting, possibly before we started the official meeting. But one of the other road commissioners said that he wished that he wasn't running against him because he would like him on the road commission as well. So I think the fact that someone on the road commission thinks that he would work well with him, that weighed on my mind too.
Any other comments, Commissioner Soderstrom?
Yeah, I think today was really a very interesting time to see all the different skills that people brought and actually altered a lot of what, I had been looking at, just listening to people. And I think both Mr. Adler and Mr. Gregory really emphasized the policy side. They had a good grasp of that, which was very influencing to me. But I have to say that with Mr. Greenan, he did check all the boxes mentally. He brought together the composite, and I think right now, as Mr. Ansordi says, we have to look at what is really needed now to help the road commission move forward. And I think he has the skills to do that and would fit in beautifully with the other commissioners. And I'm delighted he was willing to be here today. And I'm very grateful to all of the others who participated as well. And I wish we could appoint more than one, because there certainly were a number of others that I would have loved to have had as well.
Yeah, I guess my sense is that we're tending to look at this as hiring another manager. And that's what I get the sense. And not that there's anything wrong, with Mr. Greenan, but I hope it doesn't create conflicts with him trying to manage it when he's supposed to be a commissioner. So I guess that would be my only fear, but I agree with you, and I wish that when we were making it from 3 to 5, we had this, I thought that this would be a wonderful set of candidates at that time as well. So, again, I'll ask that this be a roll call vote.
Commissioner Wessel,
Yes.
Commissioner Ansorgi,
Yes.
Chairman Bonick,
Yes.
Commissioner Lautner,
Yeah,
Commissioner Rettenbach,
Yes?
Commissioner Rushton,
Yes.
Commissioner Soderslittle,
Yes.
passes 6-1.
Thank you. So then, at this time then, we would ask for public comment. If there's any public comment, it would be 231, please call 231-256-8109, 231-256-8109. Please come forward while we're waiting for a phone call.
My name is John Popa. I think you made a good choice. That's as far as I'll go on that. On some of the comments that you made with regards to the skills you bring forth, if you look at the Commissioner's Handbook, one thing it says you need to stay in constant communication with the staff. And you brought up several times the staff needs help. And so if there's a person that is knowledgeable on how to put communications in the road right away, that person on that staff needs that from somebody. And so there is a big plus to having skills on a commission that can be passed down. Second thing I want to bring up is we need a finance director. So if anybody knows anybody that wants to have a job at the road commission has got a good experience in financing, we need to help spread the word.
Thank you very much. Was that?
No,
Okay. So any other comments? Okay. Yeah, so then that would bring about commissioner comments. No?
I would just like to restate that we saw 6 good people today. Thank you very much for that.
Welcome to the road commission, Mr. Green. This meeting then